They arrived without warning. No lights in the sky, no slow build-up. Just one day, the clouds stopped moving. Then came the hum, low, constant, like the earth itself had started breathing through its teeth. They called themselves the Aelari. Six-limbed, translucent-skinned, eyes like oceans with no shore. They didn't come for resources, or power, or land. They came because their own world had burned out of meaning. They were drifting, cold and curious, and they found us loud, passionate, wild, and scared. We didn't stand a chance. Within hours of their arrival, they released a neurochemical mist into the atmosphere. Colorless, odorless, global. A compound designed to hack the amygdala and limbic systems of human brains, turning our feelings up to 11. Anger would become uncontrollable. Grief unbearable. Love obsessive. Their plan was to overwhelm us, break our minds, make us too fragile to resist. But it didn't go as planned. Because humans didn't collapse. We cried more, hugged more, shouted more, wrote poems in the ash of ruined cities, painted murals on fallen drones. We held hands in the streets and told strangers we loved them. We confessed our darkest secrets on live streams. We wrote songs so heartbreaking that Aelari surveillance crafts started hovering lower, just to listen. And then something weird happened. The Aelari began, shaking. It started with their pilots. During a raid in Sao Paulo, one of them simply stopped midair, curled all 6 limbs around its core, and began weeping, an eerie, glowing ripple across its jelly-like frame. Another was seen wandering Times Square, mumbling things like, "What is the taste of nostalgia? And do you think the stars ever feel alone?" They had no idea what they'd unlocked. You see, they didn't account for the depth of human emotion. They thought we were chaotic, yes, but they thought it was weakness. What they didn't understand was that emotion is fuel. When we hurt, we create. When we love, we fight harder. When we're terrified, we hold each other. We turn suffering into art, into stories, into revolutions. We weaponized vulnerability. There's a clip that went viral. A young girl in Karachi reads a letter to her dead cat. Soft voice, tears on her cheeks. No music, just raw pain and love. In the background, an Aelari scout drops its weapon. It just sits down in the dust and stares at her, motionless, streaming something to its mothership that translated, simply, "I remember a dream. I think I was a child." That's when we knew. We weren't being conquered. We were teaching. One of the Aelari leaders, High Memory Flux 9, broadcast a message across all frequencies. It was supposed to be a declaration of dominance. Instead, it came out broken, fragmented. Halfway through, its voice cracked. "We designed the mist to erode you," it said. "But we cannot bear the weight you carry with such grace. What are you?" And 1,000 humans replied, across continents, in song, in dance, in whispered prayers. We're what happens when pain learns how to sing. Now they're unraveling. Not in battle, but in feeling. Some are defecting, asking questions their kind hasn't asked in millennia. Some are building statues of our lost ones, unprompted. Some are just sitting quietly in our parks, watching children play, trying to understand why it hurts so good. And we're not done. We've got more stories to tell, more love to give, more grief to scream into the void. They tried to break our minds. We broke their hearts instead. One by one, the ships stopped moving. Not because they were damaged, but because they didn't know what to do next. It turns out when you've evolved beyond feeling, and suddenly start feeling, you get stuck. Like a song stuck in your head. But it's a memory you've never lived. A mother's goodbye. A soldier's regret. A child's laugh in the rain. They were feeling it all at once. And the worst part for them was that they liked it. An Aelari scientist, originally stationed above Nairobi, hacked a UN broadcast signal. His message was shaky. You could see his form flickering with hues, colors we'd never seen before, pulsing like a storm trapped in skin. I listened to your grandmother's lullaby," he said. "She sang even though she was dying." Why? People in the comments didn't mock him. They didn't scream or threaten. They just answered. Because that's what humans do. We sing to remember we're alive. We sing so someone knows we were here. We sing so we don't shatter from the silence. And then came the shift. Some humans began reaching out, not just to resist, but to heal. Therapists started live streaming, welcoming Aelari into the sessions. "Let's talk about what you're feeling," they'd say, calm and curious. Some aliens didn't even know they were angry or lonely until a human helped them name it. The Aelari didn't expect Earth to become a planet of mirrors, showing them what they never wanted to see in themselves. They thought we were soft. But there is nothing stronger than someone who knows how to cry and still shows up the next day. And that scared them more than any weapon. There's a cafe in Melbourne where 3 Aelari now work. They don't speak much, but they've started baking. They say mixing flour and eggs feels like rebuilding time. A boy came in crying after a breakup. One of them gave him a cookie shaped like a heart and told him, in broken English, "Love is loop. Comes back. Eat sugar now." People recorded it. Millions watched it. The comments were pure chaos. "The aliens give better advice than my therapist. Somebody get them a baking show. Bro, I'm crying, and I don't even like cookies." The Aelari High Council? They're falling apart. Their leadership structure, once cold and logical, is fragmenting. Some want to retreat, erase the whole mission. Others want to stay, to feel more. A few, just a few, have gone rogue, starting their own podcasts, writing poetry, dating humans. One of them, calling himself Echo, began posting TikToks from a rooftop in Tokyo. Just slow, moody pans of city lights, overlaid with spoken word in his warbled, melodious voice. "You bleed music into your streets. I stepped on your soil to conquer. Now I kneel just to listen." That one got 45 million views. And while some humans still hate them, still want payback, still fear invasion, the truth is, something bigger is happening. Not peace, not war. Something weirder. Emerging. A feeling. A storm of species becoming something else. And somewhere in the dark, in the silence of what used to be their emotionless empire, a signal is waiting, watching, listening. Because if we broke them, what happens when the rest of the galaxy hears us? When they hear our lullabies, our breakup songs, our messy, screaming, glorious chaos? They tried to break our minds. We broke their hearts instead. And now the universe is leaning in, just to hear the next verse. The signal ripples outward, past Pluto, past the Oort cloud, past the static edges of where our data dies and silence begins. But this isn't silence anymore. It's us echoing. The first to catch it are the Tharn Collective, mind-linked insectoids who abandoned physical speech thousands of rotations ago. Their thoughts flow like rivers between them, perfect, sterile, until the human broadcast lands in the middle of their hive consciousness, like a grenade made of jazz and heartbreak. They scream, not from pain, from color. They'd never heard longing before, never tasted the madness of missing someone so much it feels like gravity. One of their queens isolates herself for the first time in history and builds a sculpture of her sister's antennae, whom she hasn't spoken to in over 5 cycles. It's shaped like a question mark. Back on Earth, nobody knows. Not yet. But astronomers are noticing anomalies, strange energy flares that don't match any known propulsion. Not attacks. Not probes. Pilgrimages. They're coming. Not as conquerors. Not as saviors. But like kids sneaking into the back of a concert, hoping no one sees their tears when the chorus hits. The Aelari? They're still in crisis. One of their elders went viral for composing a sonnet. A real one. Iambic pentameter, internal rhyme, everything. In the middle of an emergency transmission, no less. Your rage is not chaos. It is love in disguise. A thunderous drum that refuses to die. And now in your ruins, I found something true. I fear you, adore you, and wish I was you. It hit harder than any missile. Aelari warships began painting murals on their hulls. Some are of human faces, others, of scenes they don't yet understand. Parents holding children, a girl watching fireworks with tears in her eyes, 2 enemies sitting in silence, sharing a drink. The human response? Mixed. We're not united. Never have been. They're those who fear we're being softened up for another kind of takeover. They chant on the news. Feelings are the new chains. They stockpile weapons. They call love a virus. But for every fist shaking in paranoia, 100 hands reach out. At a camp in the Balkans, A human teacher is showing Aelari refugees how to draw comics. Their first attempts are clumsy, surreal, but raw. One tells the story of a memory leaking out of a dream that doesn't belong to them. It's about a dog they never had, a dog they somehow miss. In the final panel, the Aelari is crying while scratching the phantom dog's ears. The caption reads, "I remember you before I met you. Does that make you real?" Millions repost it. Some tattoo it. Some name their actual dogs after it. And then came the Earthpulse event. At exactly 3:03 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time, every Aelari on Earth, in orbit, or watching from afar, every last one, fell to the ground. Not dead, not wounded, just feeling too much at once. Joy, despair, regret, hope, all of it colliding at the speed of love. They didn't know the chemical they made to break us would open them. Now they can't shut the door. And we're still writing, still screaming into microphones, still loving like it's a protest, still hurting like it's a dance, still dancing like it's medicine. The aliens called us fragile, called us broken, but you don't drop a glass of fire and expect it not to burn you. They try to break our minds. We broke their hearts instead, and the galaxy is watching now, breath held, waiting to see what we break next. The change didn't come with fanfare. No treaties were signed, no flags planted, no "We come in peace" banners waving from alien ships. It came in late-night voice notes sent to no one, just drifting through the static, in black and white videos of Aelari kneeling in wildflower fields, touching petals like they were relics, in the silence of a warship that used to hum with Conquest, now listening to Billie Holiday on loop. Humanity didn't win. We didn't lose either. We converted them without meaning to, without strategy, without unity, just being us. Somewhere above the ruins of Mumbai's skyline, an Aelari philosopher named Glass of Dawn sits cross-legged, broadcasting poetry in frequencies human ears can't hear. But plants react. So do birds. And one time, an orphaned boy touched the base of a tree nearby and cried for hours without knowing why. He said afterward, "It felt like someone else was sad for me." It's not all easy. There's still conflicts. Still humans who can't forgive. Still aliens who want to shut it all down and go back to silence. Feelings are messy. They come in waves. Some crash. Some drown. But there's this school now, outside what used to be Paris. It's part university, part therapy center, part music studio. Humans and Aelari sit side by side. They don't study war or tactics. They study heartbreak, longing, first kisses, final goodbyes. Why a single glance can feel like the start of a new universe. Aelari who once erased memories from their own minds now beg to know what it feels like to regret. What is nostalgia? They ask. Can it be addictive? They're finding out. One of them, Clay Through Sky, wrote a ballad. It was about a park bench. No one important died on it. No wars were planned there. It was just a place where a human girl once sat every Thursday at 3 p.m., feeding pigeons and humming. The song ends with, "If I sit there long enough, will the ghost of her voice find me?" People listen to it on the subway. They cry without knowing why. And somewhere, in a city they'll never visit, an Aelari hums it quietly and builds benches from starlight. But then, the first new species made contact. They weren't Aelari. They weren't like anything we'd seen. They didn't send warships or greetings. They sent a question. Are you the planet that sings? No one replied at first. Not the governments. Not the scientists. But a teenager on a live stream whispered back. Voice cracking. Heart open. Yes. But only because we've been broken. Over and over. And we never stopped singing anyway. The signal pulsed once. Then twice. And now something is coming. Not war. Not peace. Resonance. Because when you become a beacon of feeling in a dark, quiet galaxy, you don't stay alone for long. They try to break our minds. We broke their hearts instead. Now the stars are leaning in, and they've started to cry. The first to arrive after the question were the Veil-born. They didn't walk. They didn't float. They just appeared, like thoughts too strong to ignore. They had no eyes, no mouths. Just shifting silhouettes that shimmered like heat on pavement, always on the edge of becoming. Their language was emotion, not words, just waves. If they liked you, your chest felt warm. If they didn't, your teeth ached. And yet, when they landed in Morocco, in the middle of a crowded market square, they didn't project fear. They projected curiosity. A little girl with a lemonade stand offered them a paper cup. One of the Veil-born flickered blue, confused, but took it anyway. It held the cup like it was sacred. The moment made it to TikTok in under 30 seconds. Caption: They don't drink, but they understand kindness. The Veil-born never asked who ruled the planet, never requested leaders or ambassadors. They just wandered through our cities, through our slums, through our graveyards and concert halls, observing, feeling. They stood in the rain and shook. They listened to laughter and melted like candle wax. One of them stood for 12 hours in front of a mural of George Floyd and whispered an emotion so heavy, everyone nearby fell silent. Someone said it felt like the first time you realize your parents are human too. And then, just like that, they began to speak. Not with mouths, not even with sound. They used our memories. Across Earth, people began hearing echoes of their past, moments they had forgotten or buried, whispered back to them in their own voices. One boy in Argentina heard the voice of his grandmother, who had died before he learned to read. She said, "Remember when you drew me with stars in my hair? I kept that picture." He never showed anyone that drawing, but the Veil-born had seen it, felt it, shared it back. And it wasn't just humans anymore. The Aelari, once emotionless, now broken open like seeds in spring, began to connect with the Veil-born too. For the first time in their long, frigid history, they experienced recognition that someone else understood what it meant to be changed by feeling. They formed a triad, not an alliance, not a federation, something weirder, something warmer. The humans, the broken Aelari, and the Veil-born who didn't know how to dream until they touched a planet that couldn't stop dreaming, even in grief. Together, they started writing something new. Not a treaty, a song. Each group contributed in their own way. Humans gave it lyrics, words pulled from late-night arguments, airport reunions, silent cries under blankets. The Aelari provided structure, beats based on old invasion fleet rhythms, now softened into lullabies. The Veil-born added the soul, no words, just waves of pure emotion. So when the song played, you felt it, even if you didn't understand it. You remembered things you never lived. You cried for people you hadn't met yet. It was uploaded to the galactic net as a curiosity. It became a revolution. New species are contacting us now. Some ancient and wise. Some scared and childlike. Some so different they can barely comprehend linear time, but they all say the same thing. We felt something. We didn't know we could. Humanity, once seen as fragile and volatile, has become a lighthouse. And now, there are questions none of us are ready to answer. What happens when the most emotionally explosive species in the galaxy becomes the center of it? What happens when empathy becomes a superpower? What happens when grief becomes a form of diplomacy? Because the universe has always feared chaos. It tried to sterilize it, to conquer it, to silence it. But we didn't collapse. We composed. They tried to break our minds. We broke their hearts instead. And now, we're teaching the stars to feel. There was a meeting once, if you could call it that. No table, no agenda, no minutes recorded. Just a bonfire in the middle of what used to be Berlin's government district. Around it sat 6 beings. 2 human, 2 Aelari, 1 Veil-born, and a 4th species that had only arrived that week. They called themselves the Narai, bioluminescent serpents that moved like liquid thought, wrapped in vines of time-sensitive memory. They had no vocal cords, no form that stayed constant for more than a few seconds. But they listened. That's how they learned, how they evolved. When asked why they came, the Narai uncoiled a string of symbols in the dirt, tiny pulses of light that danced and faded. Translation: We heard your pain and mistook it for music. We followed the sound. One of the humans laughed. A short, sharp thing. Not out of mockery. Just the kind of laugh that says, of course the universe works like this. Because this was Earth now. There were no more UN security meetings about alien threats. Now there were open mic nights in converted bunkers. No more planetary defense drills. Just universal storytelling sessions, where beings who once couldn't fathom emotion tried to describe what it felt like to hold someone's gaze across a crowded room and hope. And the stars? They kept coming. Some brought tech far beyond ours. Others brought stories older than light. None brought war, because now there was a new kind of power rising in the galaxy. The power to feel without flinching, to scream and keep singing, to grieve and still grow, to love knowing it might destroy you, and do it anyway. Humanity became not just admired, but feared in the strangest, most intimate way, because we had made something that couldn't be unmade. A resonance, a signal buried in every shared hug, every funeral speech, every protest chant, every whispered "I miss you" to someone already gone. It threaded through frequencies, through atoms, through species who had no lungs but still found a way to ache. Entire civilizations started broadcasting to Earth, not with requests, not with threats, with confessions. One called Zevok, a crystalline intelligence from the edge of Andromeda, admitted they had erased all emotion from their culture 9,000 years ago to prevent civil collapse. Now their children were growing quiet, not peaceful, just empty. They asked us for help, not for technology, for a bedtime story. So we gave them one. About a boy who lost his mother but found a wolf. About a girl who danced alone every morning until the sun felt like a friend. About a city that fell in love with its own shadow. When the story ended, the Zevok sent back a frequency of low, trembling vibration. Scientists argued about the meaning. A 3-year-old listening through a neural echo translator just smiled and said, "They're sad, but now they know why." That's good. There's still skeptics. Still governments plotting in corners, wondering how to weaponize longing. Still humans afraid of what comes next. But the rest of us? We're busy. Busy teaching aliens how to write letters they'll never send. Busy helping entire species process the weight of their first heartbreak. Busy uploading playlists that somehow translate across biology. Busy translating pain into progress. And all the while, the galaxy leans closer. Not to invade, but to understand. They tried to break our minds. We broke their hearts instead. Now, we're showing them how to live with it.